Okay, I think we should be live now on YouTube. So, welcome everybody. This is the Node.js working group meeting on the 23rd of April 2024. So first of all, there is anyone that want to do any announcement? Okay, seems like no announcements for now. So first topic in the agenda is discussing about the infrastructure for Orca 2024 and beyond. Yeah, this is the issue 3686. Let me pass also that on the chat. Yeah, I think I can bring an update on this one. Yeah, this issue previously was known as, I think, macOS 13 infrastructure or something like that. And I just renamed it just to condensate all the things together in one place. So basically, the most relevant thing is we have like the current task on the first part of the issue. So in one hand, I have been working on it during the weekend. So I finished with the maintenance for the Cisco firewall, which by the way was a very easy, patch and reboot, and that's it. I mean, there was not even a downtime for any of the machines. So just for the future, we know that it's going to be an easy task.
What was it? Sorry, just remind me. That was just like
Yep.
updating the firewall or?
Yeah, it was a Cisco firewall that we have in place there. I'm not very sure we have access to the Cisco firewall directly, but it's the one that keeping all the NAT tables and so on. So
Right.
that's how we predict the outside the IPs and so
Yes.
on. And yeah, the support team asked us a while ago if we want to do that. It has been blocked for a while because we have been, trying to storing the state of the Orca machines and was like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's try to prevent any potential problem. And once we consolidate that, I just asked them to do it, and it was an easy thing. So was solved
Okay.
already on weekend.
So was that
Um,
just we asked them to do it, or we needed to you
They
actually?
proactively ask us because basically we lost the SSH access to
Right.
certain machines because of that. It like gets some kind of saturation at some point. So yeah, basically with that should not happen anymore. But yeah,
Okay. But like you asked them to do it, or you had to actually do like?
no, we need to ask with them. I mean,
Okay.
they open a ticket to us saying like, look, we need to
Okay.
reboot this and apply the patch. Let us know when it's okay for
Okay.
you. It was like kind of suspended, and they did it. So that's okay.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, the next one, which is a little bit more tricky, it's the allocation of resources for Orca, which is there's an offline discussion going on mail. I think all the build email is officially there as well regarding the resources for the AR machines. But basically, the agreement was on the last discussions to try to put more resources in Orca if we want, so it's easier for us to manage than bare metal machine. Actually, because also we can use this much better. So the idea is that we might get 3 ARM nodes, basically. Currently, we don't have those today. And the idea is to see if the foundation want to pay for them, as far as I know. But there is an ongoing discussion with Mac Stadium, actually, to see if they willing to provide that or not. So that's the discussion right now. But overall, the final image is we are going to have nodes there. The idea was to
So either
distribute their machines. Yep, go ahead, Megan.
so we're gonna get them either way. Either they're gonna comp them, or the foundation will pay for them.
Yep,
Is that? Yeah. Okay.
more or less that's the plan. Yeah,
Do you know
or
how
at
much?
least
Like, what's the current? Like, if the foundation just said, "Yeah, okay, we'll pay," what's the amount that it's?
not very sure how much is going to be the amount, because I think also the type of resource is different. Because like in the past, like we have these Intel nodes. So the Intel
Right.
nodes were like a bigger Mac
Yeah.
product. So it's like the super piece. And then you can have multiple VMs, I think up to 5 or even more if
Yeah.
we got smart on how we split that. But in ARM, there's a license limitation somehow. So basically, they
Okay.
are going to provide smaller machines that basically can, I think, hold kind of 2 VMs. Basically, that's the idea,
Okay.
because that's the amount that we can have with the license.
Okay.
And they are looking for discounts and so on. And I think the pricing are, quote kind of things, so enterprise kind of things. So they are going to let us know, I think.
Okay. I was just curious, but it sounds like
Yep.
you don't know quite yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for a final confirmation and so on, because it has been a while that I didn't catch up on that email. So yeah, basically I sent a new email last week, see if we get some news. So yeah, the big challenge here now is like how we are going to distribute the resources. So basically the idea is like the two main machines that we are missing from the near-form migration in the macOS context basically are one release machine for macOS 11 and one test machine as well for macOS 11. So basically that can be allocated, for example, in the first node, and then we have additional resources for macOS 13 ARM as well, basically. And I saw a comment from Michael 2 days ago during the weekend, or maybe yesterday, about the not having additional release machines, because that was, I mean, we have one, but I tried to add a second one. We have some empty space for Intel, so we can easily put more release machines in case we need or more things. But for the ARM, we might be more tight. So we can keep one and just be more proactive when we need to patch them or something like that, in case that one of the machines go out of space or things like that. Yeah, and also I fixed the problem with the naming because I was using the previous macOS name near for naming that was a little bit misleading. So yeah, now there's the reference. So basically that's going to be like the picture of it. It is more or less clear. Are we happy with this plan?
I guess that then gives some capacity for like newer versions or whatever, right? I guess would be the next step afterwards, or what's your
Yeah.
thoughts on that front?
Well, that's a little bit tricky because actually we are going to introduce 13 now, right? So probably
Okay.
we're going to start thinking on 14 in a few
Yeah.
more months. And when we start thinking on 14, the challenge is we have a lot of space for Intel. I think 14 will support Intel, if I remember well. Maybe 15, no, but 14, yes. But yeah, for ARM, we have only one spot empty. So basically, we can just try the new machines there. And then the idea is when we move to 14, probably we need to deprecate 11 and so on. So that way we can try to get more spaces or ask for more additional nodes. That's going to be the only challenge.
In
When you
terms of
say only one slot, like, so if 3 ARM nodes times 2, I
Yeah.
guess those are all filled up, like, so those 6 would be filled up with existing once you add the 13s, right?
Yeah, let me see. Maybe I can share my screen. It will be, I think, easier. I hope. No, I'm share my screen.
at least for the time being, macOS 14 is covered by the GitHub macOS latest, or I'm trying to remember. It's either become macOS 14 or it's going to become macOS 14 later this year. But I think they're jumping from, is it 12 they're on at the moment? So like 12 Intel to 14 ARM on GitHub Actions. So I don't want to rely on GitHub Actions exclusively, but at least we'll have some coverage on macOS 14 in the future, or at least on GitHub Actions.
Yeah, we already have it. I just looked at GitHub Action that's running right now. It's macOS 14 on ARM64.
Yeah, so I think
Yep.
eventually, if we look at what they've done, going from like the Intel Mac to the ARM Macs, we might see the Intel Macs disappear from GitHub Actions, some point in the future. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think in long term for sure we are not going to have any Intel machine. Yeah, I tried to share my screen and I think I didn't succeed, right? You're not seeing my.
No,
I
yeah,
can't
we
see
don't
it.
see it.
Okay. Yeah, I start to see some weird stuff about the layout, so I guess I have some permission issues here. But yeah. So yeah, also the big problem in long term is like we are not going to use not big problems. We are just going to be like more tied to ARM until basically Intel disappears. So yeah.
I guess at what level, what time, when is it that our Intel, I guess Intel is still supported for all the different versions, or that they haven't actually deprecated it yet?
I think if I'm following correctly with the last announcements and so on, basically I will say like most of the products are ARM already. I think
Yeah.
maybe one of the big pieces in the past still be Intel until this year, something like that. And then basically they are going to remain Intel support on the already deployed versions of macOS until certain time. So basically maybe this is the last release that support Intel, and maybe the next Apple version major is not going to support that. Not very sure because depends on the guarantees and so on, but seems like.
I guess we got lots of resources on Intel, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, Intel. Yeah, in terms of resources in Orca, we have more than enough space to do experiments on Intel there. So also, if we are facing some problems with Intel macOS machines in other providers, we can just move them to Orca.
Right.
Worst
And I
case.
guess until they decide, like, at some point, Orca may no longer support Intel, but it doesn't sound like that's anytime soon.
Yep. Side note also, we still have two products in Mac Studio. We have like bare metal things and the Orca one. So the bare metal will continue based on the last discussion. So that's independent and that's sponsored already. So that will continue. And there's where actually we have some of the ARM instances running. It's all ARM there actually.
Right.
Okay, so I think that's okay. One side note from my side is I will try to onboard Ryan on macOS infrastructure. So I will create probably the pull request to grant him access to infra macOS related and probably to releases because he needs to set up one of the release machines. So basically that's going to be the level. I will check it out the permissions later on and put a note so we can review. But yeah, basically it's like I think it's the folder is like infra mac and then something like release. So to both of them. I have a meeting with him in the evening, if I remember well. So
yeah, definitely the infra Mac. But is there a release one?
yeah, there is one release one in the table because we have in the past like a release near for macOS ARM 64.1.
Okay.
That one will be also need to set up. So
okay, so basically I couldn't remember if we created that like so that people could get. I knew we gave access to the Mac infra separately, but not necessarily the release machines. But okay, yeah.
Unless we don't want to finalize that part, so I can finish the. I mean, if we don't want to give him that access to release machines, which basically include the secret for the notarization and so on, I can do that manual step later on when he set up the machine. It's not a blocker if we don't want him.
Like this is like in my mind at least. This is like just giving access to the Macs is a decent step, right? Like we're hoping that they can manage these mostly for us, right? So
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, they will become very independent, so that should be fine. So yeah, I will plan a session with him tomorrow, like a 90-minute session on Orca management and so on. If anyone is interested to attend, just for the sake of learning Orca and so on, feel free to ping me, and I will invite you to the meeting as well.
What time is it?
I think it's going to be in the evening. Let me see.
Just why don't you add me to the invite? I'm not sure if I can make it, but
yeah, I think it's like in 3 or 4 hours from now, but tomorrow, more or less,
right.
if I remember well, kind of thing. Yeah. It's in the 8th in my evening. Now here is 3. So yeah, it's 5 hours from now tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, why don't you throw me on the invite and I might come.
Okay. I will include you.
In.
Okay, added.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's more or less all for this topic. Anything else that we want to discuss on this?
I've only just noticed Marco said that it looks like one of the ARM test machine, or the only online ARM test machine, is exhibiting some sort of issue. So maybe that's something we need to look at.
Yeah,
after the meeting.
There are 2 machines that actually have some issues. Let me see. So
I think we only have two ARM machines, isn't it, in the test CI? So
yeah,
one of them you took offline.
Yeah.
Possibly because of the SSH access. I can't remember. And then
yeah, but they have the same issue.
The other one has some issues. So yeah,
yeah.
They were trying to run CI on it, I guess, this morning.
Yeah, there is one was like the one that ends up in the number 4. So it's like Test Mac Stadium ARM 4. Basically, that one has been problematic since Friday. So I entered the machine, I clean up the machine because I know that was the only one remaining, and it was already with this typical alert of you're running out of space. So I ran the script for clean up the machine, all was fine. I rebooted the machine, no SSH connection back. So I opened a ticket with them. Seems like it's the same root cause as for the other physical machine. The thing is, even with this low space, was working okay during the weekend, running Jenkins and so on. So it was like, yeah, we don't have access, but the machine at least is kind of working. But yeah, I assume that probably if it's not down, it will be probably down soon because they have some problems with the space. So I tried to recover the other machine, which is the ARM64-3. Basically, it has been offline for a while. I think actually Michael Targos made put them manually offline from Jenkins because we didn't have any option to SSH the machine. And yeah, basically I asked the people to wipe the machine and I tried to re-ansible the machine, but I'm getting some issues with Python. So very weird ones, because actually if you run the steps manually of installing the dependencies, which is, I think is GTAP or something like that, you can do it manually. But even if you try to re-ansible again, it's not going to recognize that command. So there is something wrong with the Python binaries. I try to use, the typical workaround solutions with Homebrew and so on, but yeah, no success. So I think it's something there with the binary. I was reading some forums and stuff, and the people say it's like might be that the Python version that is shipped together with the machine it's a custom version, like included in the operating system or something like that. And actually, if you try to remove that one, it's protected. Even if you try to sudo remove that Python version, install one from zero, you get some issues. So the only way is like overwriting that. But yeah, no luck. So yeah, if anyone has time and and willing to help with this kind of Python binary issues, it will be great to have a look.
But I guess, Richard, are you saying we have no test machines for now, or?
I think one of them was offline, and the only one that's running, Marco said, isn't. It hit some problem now and is not successfully attempting to. It's not even starting to build. It's kind of erroring very early. So, I mean, I don't know what's wrong with it. I just saw the.
It's currently running.
Okay.
A build, so maybe that was a one-time issue.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
Yeah,
we'll hope it hangs out until we get the release out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, my hope was to fix the other machine and then just to wipe the other one and so on, so that way we have at least one working all the time. But yeah, no luck with the re-ansible.
But in the future, are we going to have more than 2 machines of one kind?
Yeah. Basically, there is one machine that is missing from Nearform that is for the test environment. Basically, that's the one that is going to be added. So basically, you're going to have 3 machines for macOS 11 on ARM, basically, after that.
But is going to be the same for macOS 13, also 3 machines?
For macOS 13, I think we are going to have, 2 per type. So it's going to be like 2 in Intel and 2 in ARM, but we can put 3 for the testing. I think having 3 might be a good option.
I feel like 2 is a little bit short.
Yeah, and unless we figure it out, I will talk with Ryan, because maybe we can figure it out a better way to increase the amount of disk space on the VMs on Orca, because right now I didn't found any way how you can define that. So basically all the VMs have the same size by default. But if we manage to increase the size, I think we at least can make the machines live longer before they run out of memory, which is what happened quite often.
Do we know what's the specs of the host machine?
Not yet 100%. I know it's going to be like the alternative for the Mac, for the Pro one, the desktop version. But yeah, I don't remember the name for that now. But yeah, I can have a look. Maybe a mini for the ARM, probably. But not sure 100% of the spec yet. So they probably are going to tell us by mail.
But it probably has at least 500 gigabytes of space, the host.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, actually, we have more space than what we need. We have more physical space, actually. Yeah, we have also another challenge in the past. If we remember, like we try to make images from like all the VMs deployed, and then we hit a limit because that is a different storage. But in physical disk, we have more space than what we actually are using or assigned to the machine. So maybe we can see if we can increase. There's like a process in the documentation saying like you can enter in the machine and then increase the size of the disk while it's running, but I found it a little bit complicated. So I was hoping maybe to have a look on that with Ryan.
Yeah, it sounds like a good thing to point him at in terms of.
I'm trying to remember if we had something on that, either in the manual instructions or maybe in Ansible itself that Ash put together in terms of expanding disk space. But I may be misremembering. I can't remember exactly. I just had some vague idea that Ash did have something about expanding disk space, and I think it was on Max, but probably need to double check in the repo.
Yeah, we can check it out. Yeah, I remember something from us as well, but not very sure if it was Mac or in a different environment. Okay, so we jump to the next topic. Okay, so next topic is 3672, which is related to extend Azure credits. There is, I think, an action from our side pending, right? Which the idea was to delegate to Ben, right? More or less.
I think Zhao said he would take care of it.
Stefan's looking at it.
Okay.
Yeah, Stefan. Ben was trying to reach out to Zhao to talk about what happens in the future rather than what's happening right now. And then Stefan said, "Yeah, please talk to him, to Ben. Please talk to him because he's taken over from Zhao for that." So I believe that it's been handled.
Yep.
But yeah, it wouldn't be bad if the foundation helped just like those renewal type things and stuff. So
yep.
Yeah, I think the context was that Ben said they were talking to Azure/Microsoft for other projects, and they were wondering if it made sense to just have everything together, I guess. But I guess that's a discussion to have with Stefan and Zhao.
Yeah, if nothing else, I mean, having the foundation people on the email that says, "Hey, please renew it." If it's just a matter of saying yes, like that's the kind of thing we would hope that they can make sure happens, because like we're not, somebody's not away or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think they're expecting like a kind of fulfillment of a form with some details on how we use it and details from the foundation and so on. So yeah, it was a little bit more than yes, I will say, like, yeah, process is a little bit more more longer, but so far seems okay, I think. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think, well, next issue is 3615, which is related to Nearform can no longer host machines, which I think we covered at least partially, the macOS part. So maybe we can discuss about other pieces for that.
I think this is done. I think Marcus Asso took care of tidying up like the Ansible inventory. And I think that was the only thing sort of left to do. So we're not using any of the Nearform machines anymore. I think they're all turned, they've all been disconnected. Nothing, I actually took them out of Jenkins at the beginning of the month, so we've not been running on them anyway. I think they're actually gone now. The benchmark job and the V8 jobs are running on the new machines on the Hetzner. I know there's been work in the performance team with the benchmarking script to pin the benchmark runs onto like the performance CPUs rather than well, I can't remember because the economy sort of EPU things. So yeah, it's all working fine, and the V8 job is actually so on the Nearform machines we're having network timeouts on the Nearform benchmarking machine. those have actually disappeared. So we've not seen those on the new Hetzner machines. So the only difference is we're now consistently seeing test failures in the Linux perf tests that we only run on Intel. So I don't believe those are specific to the machine. I think those are just things that we've probably always had, but they've been masked by the fact that the job hardly ever ran because of the networking issues. So I presume it was introduced some V8 version ago. But yeah, if the project as a whole can find out decide either to, I don't know, skip those or fix those tests, then we can potentially get the V8 CI passing again, which would be a great place to have as a default, and no longer sort of ignore the x64 failures as the infrastructure is being non-reliable. I mean, it looks like the infrastructure so far has been holding up, and the actual errors on the job is an actual test failure. So yeah, I'm guessing we could close this now. I don't know if there's anything left that anyone's aware of.
Still some discussion of what to do with the machines.
Yep.
Okay.
But I think we can take it off the agenda.
Yeah.
That's reasonable. Yeah.
Correct me if anybody remembers otherwise, but I don't think the benchmarking work group was really in the loop when the Intel machines went in, like the benchmarking machines. So I think the agreement was worked out between Nearform and Intel. So I have no idea what the end of life or anything like that was.
I don't remember because I don't know who was involved in the original benchmarking team. It's not the current performance team.
Yeah, I was involved there. So I just remember Nearform saying, "Look, we got these machines from Intel."
Yeah.
So I think it's down back to the people there to try and remember what the context was. It sounds like they've already figured out the context for the Surface Pros, but for that one, for those, I think I just posted another comment saying I think somebody from Nearform, or former Nearformers have to sort of comment there.
Yeah, I mean the only thing we have to go on is the sort of odd notes we've got in the build issues. I think around the time those machines were added, there was an issue open which sort of detailed that the Intel machines were of this spec and they were being donated by Intel. So I guess there'll be a few names involved in that issue, to see if any of those remember, given that they were the ones that posted the details into GitHub. Yeah. But yeah, I mean it's so long ago, before my time in build.
Do you know what issue that's a good point of looking in that issue?
I wouldn't have the number to hand, but I know it's there because I remember looking it up before, when people were asking, what kind of machine was the old were those Intel servers, and there is an issue which actually describes what type of Intel Xeons they are and how much memory they have and disk space. So there is a build issue from around the time that machine was added.
Right, I think I found that.
Okay.
So it looks like it's from Matteo posted it. He's the one we're asking. It's hey, but neither of them anyway. Okay. I think we've got the right, hopefully ping the right people to sort of say, hey, do you have any remembrance of what we should do with them?
I mean, I think the gut feeling is that probably no one actually remembers.
I think it's unlikely anybody wants them either, right? They're old machines. Nobody wants to pay to ship them somewhere.
Yep.
I think everybody would take some machines if they showed up for free, but the shipping might be just as much as it is to buy them. So,
yeah.
Okay, so let's take them off the agenda, and I think in terms of migration, we're done, and hopefully where they go gets worked out.
That's good. Okay, so next topic in the agenda then is 3000.
Sorry.
Yep.
One last point, just for us all to remember, next time anybody donates physical machines to us, I guess we should write down and what is it we should do with them once they're no longer needed, right? That would be just a good note to take somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good reference.
Do we have any donators? So once the Nearform machines are out of the picture, I think we don't have any more donated hardware in build because the majority of it were the pies that
Yep.
Rod
Yeah.
disconnected a while ago.
Yeah.
So it's that and the sort of the ones that Nearform are hosting. I don't think we have any other donated hardware.
I don't think so either.
Other than through sponsorships on providers, but no actual like bought physical hardware that.
Yeah, services, right? Rather than physical.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything. I mean, anything else physical that has been donated, at least recently, since I joined the team for sure. And
Yeah,
previous
it's not
references.
not a common thing that we do because then you got to have it somewhere, and that's why we're running into issues with these things. But,
yeah, well,
Yeah.
at the moment we don't really have anywhere to host. If
Right,
someone were to try and
Yeah.
donate to us.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought I'd
volunteers.
mention to sort of point to keep in the back of our mind that if we ever get into that again, we should just keep a note that says what to do in the end.
Well, I mean, that sort of thing, probably we need to talk to like Linux, Linux Foundation.
Sure.
And stuff like, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't want to distract from going on to the next one.
Okay. So yeah, next one is replacements for Akinex machines, which is 3,597.
So I don't know any further news other than the last I heard was they were the Linux Foundation IT were getting access to the MNX console. That Brian was going to give them access to that, and then they were going to come back to us with like some details as to machines and how to get onto them. And then I think that was sort of put to the side to focus on the Nearform migration, which they managed and did quite well. So I guess it's a follow-up question to maybe Ryan or
Vanessa.
Yeah, Vanessa, as to what do we do now? What's the next steps with the Equinix migration? Because I think the time pressure wasn't as acute, but equally, we were asked not to drag our feet on that. So now we've done the Equinix migration, and hopefully Node 22 will be out the door tomorrow. That we can focus again on doing like the remaining migration of the Equinix stuff. It's maybe if you're talking to Ryan tomorrow, ask if he has any further details or news. Or
I was just going to post that in the issue itself.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think it's also worth mentioning if you're talking to them, like, if you're talking to them tomorrow, mention it as well. But I think having it actually in the issue helps.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just to get that ball rolling again, because I think, we did have that discussion, a very useful discussion with Brian from MNX and, Ryan, was it last month? I can't remember. It feels like ages ago. And, we had a plan. And then I think, quite understandably, the decision was, I think, to focus on the Nearform migration because that had a hardish sort of cutoff. But yeah, we still need to do that migration, and we need to get that rolling again. It will be a bit disruptive because it will involve moving the temporary Git repository that's used in the ARM and the Windows fan jobs. I've done that once before, so I sort of have some knowledge. But yeah, it'll be a little bit disruptive, but we'll have to do it.
That's good. So we jump to the next one. Okay, 3,538, which is, I think, related to the tarbals. You might remember this one. We got some issues recently with not all the macOS versions, some of them, I think, depends on the security tweaks or whatever. But yeah, basically, sometimes when you download the tarbals, we offer two formats for macOS, basically. One is the PKG format, so it's like the typical wizard installation with next, and so on. And then we have the tarbals. The tarbals are currently not notarized at all because it was not a requirement in the past. Seems like now it's a requirement. So yeah, the idea is to build a script, to adapt the script that we have for notarization to cover these cases, basically. I didn't have a lot of time in the past to work on it. I had some time this weekend to work on it. So I started experimental pipeline in the release pipeline. My idea here was like basically read the types of files that we have there. So if you have a PKG, we do the same process before, but if you have the new tarbals, basically the idea is like we just compress them in zip. We send them in zip format to Apple. They confirm that they received the file or whatever, and then basically we stack with the tarbals and not with the zip version. Basically, that's the idea. Yeah, I'm not pretty sure about all the notarization process, but I think it's going to work. But currently I'm pretty lost with some part of the Jenkins because I'm not a really good, I don't have all the context on how the jobs are triggered and so on. So worth checking with someone that has more experience than me in Jenkins, so willing to do some pairing. So yeah, basically it's there. You can see I created a draft pull request on the Node.js repository with my changes, which is the 52,610, which is this one, basically. And there is an important thing when we do the merge for this PR in the future. Right now, it's not even ready, but one of the key things here is like we will need to do some probably manual changes on the IOJS release, the one that we use for night builds and so on. And also we need to propagate these changes also to the release branches, to the staging branches. So in the next release for each of them, they take this in account because otherwise I think it's going to be a little bit tricky. So it's going to be a little bit tricky when we land it. That's the only thing that I'm kind of sure.
I presume that would be similar to the notarization change we had to make last year to move everything to the later Xcode and the new notarization.
Yeah, it was slightly different because we only needed to add like one additional environmental variable. So if you don't have it and you're still running the old code, that was fine. If you run the new one without them, it was a tricky, but this was an addition that hasn't made any problem on the pipeline. This one is going to be a little bit more disruptive, I think.
If you want to look at it, like find a time for us to, I can look at the job. I'm probably not an expert in terms of I don't look at them all the time, but I'll see if I can remember stuff. The other thing too is like I think what we want to see if we can figure out is a way to like duplicate the job, tweak the duplicated job, and
that's what that's what that's what Ulysses has been doing.
Okay.
It's the same one that we created together time ago.
Okay,
remember,
right.
Michael,
Okay,
when
so
we
yeah,
did the
that
first
was
version.
Hopefully that just means we can test it out a few times and like. Does the PR can the PR land without affecting the existing job, or is that part of the challenge?
It's going to be part of the challenge, I think, because we are going to change a little bit how the pipeline is.
So off the top of my head, I believe the tarballs on macOS are built through the common binary upload target in the makefile. So there's nothing macOS specific in binary upload. So that's the same target that's being run on like Linux, AX, macOS. It's just builds node and runs tar and with the compression thing to tar it up and then uploads it to staging. There's a separate package upload for the installer, and that's the one that goes through the notarization. So yeah, I kind of glanced through what you did. It's I don't know if we'll need to somehow make the binary upload or at least the binary tar target somewhere in the makefile dependency chain. I don't know, it feels like it could get quite structurally involved in terms of but maybe that's the right thing to do. I don't know.
Yeah, that's correct. I think we don't use, I think we send information to Apple, like in terms of we want to notarize this, but we don't collect information from them back aside of, okay, process it or whatever. So basically the binaries that we have on the machine locally are the same that we are going to send, but the notarization goes on their own server. So basically when you open the binary locally, it's going to check against Apple if they are known for this binary or not. So in that sense, I think it's separated. So what I did was changing the condition that says like if the file is matching this format, like a package format or whatever, then you run this pipeline, otherwise you ignore it. So basically I extend that to run on every condition. But yeah,
Right, but
following
you
with
still
the
need to run. So the point was that if you ran the binary upload target, that wouldn't run the notarization script at all. But if you ran the package upload target, that wouldn't run the binary upload, which means it wouldn't produce the tarballs. So
I see.
in the IOGS release, there are, I guess you probably looked at it. There are conditions to match the name of the sort of sub job that's being run. So there's one condition for the tarballs, and that has macOS somewhere in the if you look, there's a regular expression somewhere in there. There's a macOS I think it has tar in the name, something tar or something like as opposed to like PKG. So there's a separate regex for PKG, but there's another one that was run for there's the other one that's run for the other platforms, and it includes macOS -tar targets, I think.
Okay,
So
okay, that makes sense.
I guess I suppose it's possible if the regular expression matched both. Yeah, if that OS6 tar, if that matched like multiple, I don't know. It depends how to do it, but it involves some thinking, I think.
Yeah.
And then I think I guess you saw the note I put, which was that the package file names don't have macOS or the architecture in their file names because the package installers are universal. Whereas the tarballs say like -darwin x64 or -darwin ARM64. So I think at least the first thing you were running into was that the file names differ.
Yeah,
between
that's
the package
correct. That's
and
correct. Yeah, the package works in every format because they do the compilation, whatever magic inside, but the tar also. So yeah, that's another fair point. But yeah, I think that's something easy that we can just work like around like 1 hour, 1 hour and a half or something of pairing. We can figure it out a little bit. So yeah, if you, Michael, want to help.
Yeah, if you want to set up a time, I'm happy to take a look. The other thing is, I think like maybe we can modify that OSX notarize if necessary so that like it takes an environment variable. So it'll, like, if you're worried that like, if we could do something so that it doesn't mess up the existing job, but we can get the changes in. So like maybe an environment variable that says like, if this is set, then do this extra stuff. And we would not have it set in the existing job. So it would still run. And then we could set it in the new job. And like, I think that might be a good idea, just so that we can totally not affect the running stuff. And then you've got like a place where we can run a bunch of things so there's no time pressure.
Yep. That's a fair point. Yeah. We can discuss about it in details. Yeah. Okay. So I will contact you, Michael, to set up some kind of call so we can follow up.
Sounds
okay.
good.
I think next topic in the agenda is 3508, which is regarding to the R2 migration, which I'm not very sure.
That one, like, I in my mind, after the Equinix migration, then the top thing in my mind for asking the foundation to get involved in is not the website part, because that's offloaded, but like the download binary hosting. I still get emails like, I don't know how many times a week that say it's failing over and failing back. Like, I know this is related to that, but it hasn't solved it, right? Like somehow the server machines are still feeling load and switching. And so I feel like maybe it's a little mitigated, but not resolved. And that would, anyway, just want to say, I think that would be what I would hope we could get them involved in, saying like, okay, let's come up with a better approach for this and have them manage it. Because I don't know, has anybody seen any work on the R2 stuff recently?
Yeah, Flaky was asking for reviews on, there's a core PR, and I think Michael's actually said that after Node 22 goes out, we'll try another test build or something, or we'll see. That was, I think, around uploading things to a staging bucket in R2, so that when we do the promotion, there's less. So the problem we had before was that the way we had them implement the R2 upload, it was causing it was basically blocking the release process because the copying the binaries up to R2 took so long.
Okay. Right.
Without much feedback, and was erroring in some cases. So we were trying to switch to if we could stage them somewhere, and then the promotion step that we're currently doing did less work to move them from a staging point to, then hopefully that would make that wouldn't cause a problem to the releases, and would unblock that flow. So yeah, I mean, they sort of had something working, but then when we tried to do releases, we found that it just didn't work for all releases because running into problems and hard to debug problems, and releases don't always have access to build.
Yeah, it's a complicated one, and like that's one where it'd be really nice if like the foundation people who are 24/7 were like, yep, we're on top. We know we've planned something we like, and we've got it in place, and don't worry about downloads, it'll just happen, right? But okay, so it sounds like there's still some work, but kind of waiting on 22 to go out, which makes tons of sense.
Okay, I think last two topics in the agenda today for the last 10 minutes, we have discussions around the build helper role and discussions around the Cloudflare access for the web infra team. So regarding the build helper role, which is issue 2550, not very sure if we have a lot of news on this.
I wonder if we should take it off the agenda, right? Like, is anything... I have to look near the beginning,
Yeah. I agree. Maybe we can take it off from the agenda, and when we do something around it, we can just retake it in the agenda. Or when we have bandwidth for more initiatives, then we can just
it would be nice to get more people involved, but like, and even with the foundation, maybe taking ownership of some stuff, who knows if it still makes sense. So, but yeah, okay. So we're agreed to take it off the agenda at least. And
okay, I removed it at the tag.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so the next one is the 833 from the web infra, I mean, from the admin repository, which is related to access for Cloudflare, which I think it has been an agenda for a while, and we discussed it recently. So I think we grant them some view-only access, if I remember well currently, and we are waiting to having the Terraform solution to handle this in the long term, right?
Yeah, that's what we've agreed. So I or at least like from the build stunt, I would guess let's just take it off the agenda as well, right? And because we've got the plan forward, and
I think that's a good idea. And I need someone who has permissions in the admin repo, so probably you can do it, Michael or Richard. But I was trying to research a little bit on the Cloudflare Terraform integration in the weekend, because I requested to have last time we discussed about it, we decided to move to a private repository. So I got access to a private repository and so on, and I was trying to recreate the same POC that I did in the past. But I got some problems because also, Terraform has evolved a little bit since then. So I need to figure it out a little bit, the scripts again. But I think if I have bandwidth in the following weeks, maybe I can just spend one day on the weekend or something like that, and at least having the read access for Terraform so we can see what's going on, and also to have some kind of easy way the people for suggesting changes, and we apply them manually, and then we see that no difference is there, so basically has been applied or something like that. So I think the biggest challenges for us was we don't want to have a GitHub action doing the right modifications on Cloudflare at any scenario, but at least having something to read the configuration and see mismatchings and things like that will be helpful.
Why did we not want to do GitHub action applying it?
I think we were discussing time ago that we were not feel comfortable on using like infra level access on GitHub Actions, but we can review that and
Okay, right, okay. Anyway, that's probably like I could still see that might be like a long-term goal. Initially, it would be good if it, things
Yep.
were, even if somebody manually applied it from GitHub, like we're a step in that direction, and then we can talk about.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, every change will be like made via pull request or something like that, so that's all fine. Also, it's a private repo, so the people who has access to it and so on are very under control.
Yeah.
So it's a different approach. Yeah, and if we want to revisit the idea of using tokens for making production tokens for making modifications via GitHub Actions, I have some automations made time ago for the mailing list. For the alias of the email. So if we want to apply those, people can make a pull request with the change, merge it, and just change the alias. So that's already there if we are happy to change the policy.
Yeah. Okay. No, I don't remember the specific conversation, but like I can see the sensitivity there.
Yeah.
But it sounds like, and regardless, what you're working on will get us in that direction, and we can enable that last automatic step if we want to. And
yeah, I think will be good also to ask, from Vanessa and Ryan a little bit of support on what their experience on production tokens with GitHub Actions, so we can get a new view. I think that will help us a little bit to unblock. Okay. I think that was all for the official agenda. There is anything else that we want to discuss?
I was just going to comment on the last point. I guess the issue with GitHub Actions is if we move it, so we've moved the repository to the private org, so GitHub Actions will count towards the our usage limit on the private org, and we've always had issues approaching the limit due to like the security releases. So I'm a little bit. I'm guessing maybe it wouldn't be a huge amount of runtime to update Terraform, but it would still be minutes counting towards that cost. So just be careful, I guess. I mean, I'm presuming a combination of it, probably not taking too much time, and hopefully not being a whole bunch of PRs on a regular basis to frequently update the config. But just bear in mind that now that we've moved everything to the private repo, all of those action minutes coming out of the set of action minutes that we already know that we tend to be running short of.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I think we can defer to figure it out once things in GitHub and managed, but like we could use webhooks kind of like the website did, I guess, to like if we didn't want to do it in Actions itself, we could have our own something running somewhere that would like say, there was a change in GitHub, let's do the sync.
Yep. Yeah. That's an option. Yeah, saying that, I think it's not going to be a lot of requests because once as the new website has deployed and when we finish with R2 migration, probably we are not going to modify DNS records for a long time, hopefully. And aside of that, the amount of time needed for running them are really, even if you apply the change, is less than 5 minutes, 10 the maximum. So it's not often and not very long. So it should be, I think, marginal. Okay, so anything else? Any other topics? Good. So then I think we take 2 minutes back.
Yeah, we're almost exactly on time.
Yeah. Okay, see you.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.